Okay, so before you start watching this tutorial, I just want to speak to my existing viewers and the people who are following this particular course from the video number 1. I just want to speak to you guys for 1 minute. Well, if you found this particular video from YouTube search and if you are looking for only Spring MVC form tag concept, then you can skip this particular section and start watching this particular video from this particular time. Okay, so if you're following this particular course from the video number 1, then I'm damn sure that you can build this particular page by yourself. If you have followed my last video, then I spoke about model attribute annotation, how to use a DTO and all the stuff, and I'm pretty confident on you that you can actually build this particular page by yourself. Come on, give it a shot, right? You can take this particular page as your assignment, try to build this particular page, try to build a result page, try to capture the data, do it as an assignment and send it to seleniumexpress@gmail.com. Okay, but if you're finding it hard to understand still, if you don't know what is a model attribute, how to use them, if you still want to invest some more time on this particular concept, then you can happily keep watching this particular tutorial. But I recommend you to pause this particular video right now and start giving it a shot and do this page as an assignment and send it to me, so that I'll also get some happy feeling that okay, so right now you started receiving things and you started building things by your own. So give it a shot. Okay, so the next thing here is you can use this screenshot here as a cheat sheet to build this particular form, because you are going to use the Spring MVC form tag to build all the form element of this particular page. Okay, so the second thing I want to convey to you right now is I'm getting a lot of support requests, right? Hey, I stuck here. Hey, I stuck there. Could you please help me out? I'm definitely going to help you out. But the problem is I'm getting a lot of redundant questions. So that's why I keep asking you to put your questions on my new Facebook support group, which is called Selenium Express-support. I'll just leave the link in the description below. Please go to that particular support group, join the support group and put all your queries, questions, issues just right there. I'm going to solve you out. Personally, if you're going to email me, I'm going to reply you out for sure. But then again, I'm going to get same kind of email. So we can use this particular time to help somebody else who is actually got stuck with a new issue, right? So please consider my request and join that particular group. I'll leave the link in the description below. And also, I'm new at Instagram right now. I'm learning it how to use Instagram. So I just created my Insta account. You can follow me if you want. So I haven't posted anything right there yet, but yeah, I'm gonna do it soon. Okay, that's it. Right now, you can start watching the tutorial if you want, or if you want, you can pause this tutorial and start doing your assignment. It's your choice. Hey guys, welcome back. So in this video, we'll talk about Spring MVC form tag. So when I say Spring MVC form tag, probably you already got some idea, because in the last video, we kind of spoke about the Spring MVC form tag. We have used model attribute and we have created few text boxes, right? Using the Spring MVC form tag. But also when we talk about a form, right? We can also have checkboxes, we can have radio buttons, we will have drop down, and we'll have some other form elements. So how to create them, how to build them using the Spring MVC form tags, we're going to see in this particular video. So in this video, actually, I'm going to show you a screenshot right now. If you can see my screen, let me get that screenshot on. Okay. So right now in my screen, you can see there are some Spring MVC form tags. So we have used the form in the last video, and also we have used the form input in the last video. So today we're kind of going to use the form : radio button. We're going to use the form : select to create a drop down. We are also going to create some password field, and we are also going to use some checkboxes, right? So this video is kind of going to give us some hands-on, okay? And it is going to make us familiar with Spring MVC data binding and also it's going to make us more familiar how to work with Spring MVC. Okay, so a lot of good things in the store. So before we go ahead and before we start coding, I just want to show you the things that we are going to develop today. So let me bring in my wireframe. Where is my application wireframe? Yeah, here is it. So I hope you guys can see it. Okay, so right now let's see the wireframe. Okay, let's see the requirement that what we're going to build today or what we're going to create today. So in the last session, we have created a home page and also we have created a result page, right? So in this video, we are going to kind of build a registration page. So this is our sign in page. Obviously, we have not built this particular page so far. We're going to create it whenever we're going to learn the Spring security after a few tutorials. But right now, for now, right? If somebody comes to our application, he needs to have a username and password. And if he doesn't have a username and password, then he needs to register with us, right? Then we will give him a username and password. So if he doesn't have the credential, he needs to click on register. So here is a registration form, right? So, I mean, what kind of feelings that you are getting whenever you are seeing this slide right now? So this is kind of a form, right? This is a form. So in a form, we'll have the text boxes, we'll have the password field, we'll have a drop down like country. We can give a lot of options to the user. I mean, which country you are belonging to. And then we can also have checkboxes. And obviously, you know, we can click multiple checkboxes. And also, we will have radio buttons like gender, male or female. And for this, the radio button, you can only choose one option out of many, right? Okay, then once you fill in all the things, you can click on register and you will be registered. Pretty simple thing. But right now, our goal is to build this particular form. Okay, we're going to build this form. We're going to create this form. And the intention and the idea is over here, we're going to fill in all the details. We're going to hit register and all this data we should carry to the next page. Okay, so we'll just build this form and we'll just let it go, right? So whenever we'll be using the Spring security, at that time, we will see the actual implementation for this particular page. Like if I'm going to give a username, if I'm going to give a password, how these things are going to be stored in the database, okay? How the password is going to be hashed and how the password will be storing in a database. You know, all these things we'll be seeing in the later tutorial. But in this tutorial, the goal is to get some hands-on with the Spring MVC form tag, and we will create this registration form and we should fill in all the details. We should click on register. We should process all this data with a model attribute to the next page. Okay, clear? Intention is clear? Let's go ahead. What to wait for? So right now, our job is to forget everything and to create this particular form. Okay, so we're going to build this form. So the first thing that I'm going to do here, I am going to create a controller for this page. So this is going to be my registration page. Okay, so now let me create a registration controller inside my controllers folder. So let me collapse all other thing. I'll go to controllers. I'll do a right click, new class. I will name this class as registration controller. Okay, and I'll do finish. Now I'll annotate this registration controller class with @controller. These things are very simple for you right now because you are kind of doing it all the time right now. So are you getting bored with this? If you're getting bored with this, that means you already understood, right? So right now, let me collapse this. And in the user's registration controller, I'm going to create a method. Let's say public string so registration page. Okay, and inside this method, I'm going to return a registration page. So what name we're going to give to our registration page? Let's say user dash registration dash page. Okay, so now let me do Control S, and let's say let me bind it with a URL mapping. Okay, so the next step here is to create this particular JSP page. So let me copy this name and I'll go to my view, and right now I'm going to create a new JSP page. So I'll go to other and I'll say JSP and JSP file, and I'll name this file with Control V, user registration page.jsp, and I'll do finish. Okay, so that's good. And right now let me give here the header h1, and I'll say register here, and I'll say align center because I'm keeping all these things in the center. So let me align this to center, and there we go. So that's cool. So right now we have a registration controller, and this is returning our registration page. And in this registration page, we are going to build a form. Okay, so which kind of form we're going to build? We're going to build this particular form here. Okay, so before I build this form, I already told you, right, in the last tutorial, we'll be needing a DTO. So we'll exactly going to create a DTO right here inside this API package, which is going to match to all these fields that we have, right? So we're going to create a property like name. We'll also create a property called username, password, country, hobby, and gender. So what I'll do here, I'll come to my STS, and in my API package, let me create a new class. So I'll give the class name as, let's say, user registration. I'll say DTO. I'll hit finish here. Okay, so I got a DTO here, right? So in this DTO, let me collapse this and let me get that screenshot here. I'll just do one thing. Let me get this screenshot to my Eclipse. I mean, where I had my Eclipse. I'll get my screenshot here. Let me resize the image. And here in my class, let me create all these fields, right? So I'll do what? I'll create a private string name, which will bind to this particular text box. Then private string username, which is this one. Now we'll create a property password in this bin. So I'll write private, and for the password, the best possible data type is char, right? So I'll take a char array. Why the char array is the best suitable to store password? I don't know, but you guys get prepared because it's a very important interview question. Why we store passwords in a character array or in a char array? I'll give you the answer for that in some kind of interview preparation tutorial, but not here. Okay, so right here I'll say password. And okay, let me first create these three fields. Let me first design these three things, okay? And after that, I'll do country, hobby, and gender, and register button. So right now, I'll do what? I'll generate the getter and setter. Okay, now let me maximize this. And let me do source, generate getter and setter. I will generate getter and setter for all. I'll do okay. Okay, that's good. So right now I got all the getter and setter for my properties right here. Cool. So the next thing is, let me do command S. Okay, and let me do command S here, and this is ready. Now let me do a maven install because I want to make sure nothing wrong here. So run as maven install, and let's see the build is success or not. And once I confirm that, I am going to start building that particular form using the Spring MVC form tag. Okay, so let me wait till it compiles everything, and I just want to make sure my build is success. Okay, cool. So build success here, right? You can see in the console. Okay, so right now let me do a work. Let me do a right click, run as, run on server, just to make sure whenever I will fire off a / registration URL, I should be getting my user registration page, which I have created here, right? So let me wait till my Tomcat will deploy my project and will start my server. So let's wait right here. Okay, my server has started here, and right now this is our home page that we have developed in the last session. But right now the one we are interested The URL that we're interested with is /register. Let me copy this. Let me come to my home page and let me do Command V and enter. And there you go. Please register here. So this page is working, right? So now let me collapse this and let me bring it into this side. Okay. Now I don't want my controller. I want to go to my registration page. Okay. So right now all set, right? The stage is set. Right now, let's go ahead and let me build this form for you. Okay. So the first field here is name. So let me use a form input here because the name is a simple text box, right? It's a simple text box here. But as you can see right here, if I'm hitting Control and space right here, I'm not getting any suggestion from the form tag. So to do that, to activate that, I have to activate my form tag by putting this tag leaf. You can give prefix as form and the URI as http://www.springframework.org/tags/form. Make sure your one also looks exactly similar as this. Otherwise, this suggestion you will not get whenever you'll hit Control space. So I'll take form input here and the path for the user. Here inside the user registration DTO, I have name here. Let me copy this. I want to bind this text box to the property called name inside user registration DTO. Okay, so let me hit Control S, and right now let me give a label to this particular form. So I'll write here, let me write a HTML label here and let me say user. Okay, Command S to save, and let me keep all these things inside a form. So I'll write form colon form, and there you go. And let me cut this, Command X, and let me wrap these things off by putting the form colon form tag after this form input. Okay, so let me give a white space here and let me give a white space here so that you can view it properly. Okay, so right now inside this form colon form tag, if I'm going to refresh this, my expectation is I'm going to get a text box with a label called user. Let me hit refresh here and boom, we're getting an internal server error here. So the reason why we are getting this error, that's because if you see the console here, so here is the exception. Neither the binding result nor plain target object for the bname command available as the request object. So it's complaining because we do not have a command or the model attribute right here inside the form tag. I mean form colon form tag. So just try to understand here. The path variable basically does what? It's basically try to fetch, or it's basically try to read from the property called name whenever we are planning to load this particular page, right? Now, whenever this input field is trying to read the data from the property called name, which is user registration. So right now we don't have a command object created here. We do not have a model attribute here, correct? So right now we should have a model attribute so that we can bind this path to our model attribute, right? So to do that, what I'm going to do here, I'll go to the user registration controller. So here I'll actually create, so what I'll do here, let me create a user registration DTO object, user registration DTO. Let me bring it to here. User registration DTO, DTO is equal to new user registration DTO. Right now, let me create a model here. So let me write model and let me import this one, and I'll write model here, and there you go. So once the object for the user registration DTO is created, I'm going to send this DTO object to my view, okay, by using the add attribute method right here. So now my attribute name could be anything. For now, I'll give here user reg, and I am going to send this DTO object to this, okay. And I'm going to put a semicolon here to a command save to save everything. Now let's come here to our view, because this particular controller is basically calling this particular view okay, called user registration page. If you do a command shift R, and if you're going to double click here, you're going to come to this page, right? So here inside the form right now, we are going to give our command object or the model attribute. Okay, so here what is the model name that I've given there is user registration. Let me do command C here, and let me come here, and let me do a command V here. Okay, now let me do command S to save. Okay, so right now if I will come here and refresh this page, and boom, we get a text box right here. So you understand why that happened? Because whenever we are not providing a model attribute and we are providing the path name here, the path name is trying to bind the data, but whenever it's trying to bind the data with the name property, so we are not giving the object name here. So with which properties it is going to bind, right? There is no object here. So from where it is going to find the property, okay? So the reason we are getting an exception at the time, because whenever it is trying to fetch the data from the name, in case there is some default data, whenever we are loading this page, right, we might have some default data. For an example, if I'll go to registration controller, and before I send my user registration, which is my DTO object, to the user registration page, I can do something right here. I can do DTO dot set name, and I can say Abhilash. So right now Abhilash is already set to the name property. If I do a command click here, so you can see set name, this particular property right now has a value called Abhilash, right? That's what I'm setting right here. So if I'm already setting a value and whenever I'm sending this DTO object right here to my user registration page by giving an alias called user registration. Now if I'll go to this particular page, right now this particular input field, now this particular field is bind with the path called name. Okay, so right now this name is trying to fetch the value from the user registration object. If this property is already containing any value, any default value, any existing value, whenever this page is trying to load, at that time those default value will also come, right? If I do a command S here, if I'm going to refresh this, you can see the value here, Abhilash, right? This is the default value. No worries, cool. So okay, before I design my form further, let me simplify this particular code here inside the controller. So let me drag this into here. As I said, we do not need all this, we do not need to do all this drama here, right? We can write all these things in a simple one line by using the @model attribute inside the method parameter. So instead of this model and model, I'm going to write @model attribute. And for this model attribute, the alias we are sending is user registration, right? Let me copy this and let me do command V here inside the model attribute parenthesis, so that we can remove this line also. So right now, instead of creating our user registration object right here, I can just remove this from here, and let me drag this into here. So I have removed my user registration object right here, and here only I'm going to create the object user registration DTO. I'll give the value DTO, command S. That's it. So right now Spring will create the user registration DTO object, user registration DTO equal to new user registration DTO. Okay, and once it's create the object, it is going to send that object to user registration page by giving a object reference as user registration. Okay, let me do a command shift F. Now you can see how simple is that. We are creating an object here. We are setting some default value to our object reference, which is DTO. You can see right here, and we're sending the same this particular object by giving the reference called user registration to this particular page. Right now, if I'll go to this particular page right here, I am trying to access that by using the model attribute called user registration, which is this one. Cool. Okay, so right now let me do a work. The things are ready, right? So let me drag it in to this, and let me start building that particular page. So I'll do. Okay, now let me give what is the next field here. Username. This is also a text field. I'll write right now label, and the label is username, and the username could be something like Abhilash123, okay, your email ID or something. Okay, let me copy this. Let me do Command C and Command V right here. And instead of name right now, what is my property name? So I can bind this name with name. Let me do Command S. And now the next field that I'm going to create here is called password. Okay, so now let me create the password field just right here. And if I can do a refresh right now, you can see already we got this particular username right here. But I want that username just right here after the user. So I can do what? I can simply give a BR. Okay, Command S, refresh the page. Come on, man. Okay, there you go. So this is also a text box. Next is password. Let me give some white spaces and let me write here. Again, a label is password, colon, and the form, again, we need to create form, colon, password. I'm looking for, yeah, there you go. And the password, so for the password, the field is password itself. Let me copy this. Let me go there. Let me do Command V here again. Command S to save. Okay, now let me refresh this. Okay, password field we get there. Again, I need to give a break, BR here. So write BR slash Command S, refresh. Cool, we get the password here, right? So if I enter something, you can see it's already encrypted. Okay, the username I can give something. There is no default value set to this particular field, so it's not displaying right here. So if you want to give some default name to, let's say, username, what you have to do? You need to go to the registration controller, and here you can do DTO.set username, and I can say Abhi123, 123 whatever. Okay, Command S, reloading is completed. Okay, now if I'll do a refresh, it should work because my code changes has been deployed. Okay, so right now we're done with creating these three elements. So the next one is the country. Okay, the country will be a drop down. Okay, right now my intention here is to create this country drop down right here. So I'll go to the user registration DTO first, and here first my job is I'm going to define the variable or the property which is going to store my country value. So I'll write string here, and no, it's not an array because the drop down will have multiple values. If you see here, the drop down will have multiple values, but we need to select only one. Whenever we are selecting it, we need to make sure that it is getting binded to our property. So I'll go there to my user registration DTO, and I'll write here country name. So right now I need to generate the getter and setter for my country name. So I'll do Command 1, and I'll create here create getter and setter. I'll click here, and I want to generate the getter and setter after the password. I'll do OK. Okay, Command S. Okay, it's generated. Cool. So right now my property has been created. So now what I can do here, I can go to my user registration page, and I can give another BR, and I'll do Command S, and I'll write here the label, and the label name I'll give as country name. Okay, and for this label I need to create a drop down. So I'll write form colon select. For the select tag right now, I need to first of all give the path. Whatever the drop down value we need to select, it need to be get binded with the country name. Let me Ctrl C it. Let me go here. Let me do a Control V here, and after this I can give the various option here. Form colon probably option. Okay. So now the value I'll give, let's say India, or let me say the value I'll give IND, and I will give the label as India. So what I mean by that? So that means if I do a refresh here, you can see I'm already getting a country drop down here, and the label, whatever I'm giving the label, that's getting displayed here. But if I'm choosing India here, IND is the value which is going to bind with my property, which is called country name. Okay, so label is just to show the user, okay, what I want to show the user. Okay, but whenever the user click, then the value is the one which is getting binded with our property. Okay, so whenever we are going to submit this form, we are going to see that, okay, what is the actual value which is getting binded with our property. But for now, let me copy this and let me paste it for a few times. Okay, let me do format, Command Shift F. Okay, so right now I'll give the value as USA and the label as United States, and value as Pakistan, PAK, and the label as Pakistan, and the value as Sri Lanka, SL, and the label as Sri Lanka. Okay, Command S. Let me refresh it, and if you click here, there you go. We're getting Sri Lanka, Pakistan, United States. Let's say if I'm selecting United States, then USA is the value which is going to get binded with my country name. As you can see, guys, the hobby here is checkboxes, right? And we can select multiple checkboxes, right? The drop down, we can only select one in our case because it's not a multi drop down, it's only a single drop down right here. We can only choose one value. The radio button means we'll only choose one value. Doesn't matter how many options are there, we can only choose one value at a time. But the checkboxes, we can check multiple boxes right here. So for that, how to store a group of elements into a single entity? My BTEC definition, my BTEC array definition. So I need to use the array. So let me come to user registration DTO right now, and let me create a private string. I want to store a bunch of string, and this will be an array. And let's say hobbies. Okay, let me create a property here called hobbies. Right now, again, let me do command 1 here. Let me click on create getter and setter, and I'll do OK. Cool. Now if I'll go down, my hobbies, getter and setters are getting created. If I do command S, and if I'll go back to the registration page right now, here I have to first create a label. Let me copy my previous label and let me do paste here, and I'll write here what? Hobby. Now here I'm going to create some checkboxes. The first one is here cricket. Let's say cricket. This is just a simple text, and after that I'll write form checkbox, and the path, I'm going to give the path name as hobbies. Let me do command C here. Let me go here. Let me do a command V here, and the path is this. So whenever somebody is going to select this checkbox is belong to cricket. Okay, so I'm going to give a value here called cricket. So this is actually the value which is going to be gets binded to this string. Okay, so right now I can copy this and I can paste in multiple times, and I'll do command shift F to format everything, refresh everything. I should get some checkboxes. Okay, so first of all, my job is after the select, I need to give a BR, command S to save, refresh the page. Okay, we're getting, but all are cricket right now. Let me change it to what is the next reading. So let me say reading here, command S, and the value will be also reading. This is the data that I want to bind to my property. Okay, so the next one is here travel. So I'll write here travel, and I'll make sure I'll change this one to travel. This is gonna be my label. For reading, I can write R reading, and then one is programming, and the value is programming here, and another one is travel. So travel is already there, right? I can remove one of this. I'll do a command S to save, and if I refresh this, you can see cricket, reading, travel, and programming. I can select multiple boxes just right here. And you need to make sure that the path will be hobbies itself. So doesn't matter how many boxes we are ticking right here, it is all going to bind with this property, and all the things that we're going to tick right here, it is going to store here inside this string array. Okay. Okay, so right now we're done with designing our checkboxes, right? Our checkboxes are ready. So the next thing is we are going to design the gender. So the gender is basically going to be a male or female. So if you talk about the radio button, we can only select one. Either we can select male or we can select female, right? So basically, we only want a variable which can store one element. So what I can do here, first I can go to my user info DTO. Sorry, not the user info DTO. Let me close this. I need to go to my user registration DTO. So here I need to again create a string here, and the name I'll give gender, and I'll select the gender. I'll hit command 1 and I'll click on create getter and setter, and I'll hit OK here. So if I'll go all the way to down, I have the getter and setter created for my gender variable or for my gender property. I'll command S to save it. I'll come here. I will start typing the radio button code just right here. So first of all, I'll give a label here. First of all, I'll give a break here so that I want a line break. And after that, I will give a label here. And the label I'll give as gender. Okay. And for the gender, I will write form : radio button. Okay, there you go. The path that I want to bind is gender. Command C here. And come back to my registration page, command V here, and the label for this, if I refresh it, can I see a radio button? Okay, this is a radio button, and before the radio button I want to write male here, male. Command S to save, refresh the page, and there you go. And same thing, I will copy again, I will paste again, and for this, the label I want to give as female. Command S, refresh the thing, and I get 2 radio button. I can select either of the one here, okay, but not 2 at a time. So whatever the value I'm going to choose, it is going to bind to the gender property of the user registration DTO class. So right now, what value I'm going to bind whenever somebody click on the first radio button. So they can see the first radio button. This is just a label, right? So whenever I click this, then I should bind the value. I'll write value here, and I should bind male here. And the female, the value should be female. Okay, this is exactly the value which is going to be binded to my gender property. Okay, that's cool. So right now things are looking good. The next thing I can do here is, so my form building is done, right? This much I want. I only need a register button here. So what I can do here, I can come back here and I can write input. Let me write a very simple HTML tag here, type equal to submit, and value equal to, I'll write register. I'll save it. I'll refresh the thing. I'm getting a register button here. So what I want right now, I'll give a break after the radio button so that I'll get my register button right here. Okay, the next thing I'm going to, if you can see here, these things are here in the left side of the page. I want to bring them to the center. So the way I'm going to do it is, I am going to wrap all my form elements inside a div, and I want to align the div to the center, and I don't want to close my div tag right here. I can cut it and I can go all the way to the down, and after the submit tag I'll do command V and command S, and let me refresh the page. Okay, there you go, looks good. Okay, we have our text field, password field, the drop down, the checkboxes, and the checkboxes we can select multiple things, and we can select one of the radio button here. Then we can do register. But whenever I'm doing register, nothing is happening, right? So I need to go to the next page. Whatever the data I'm going to fill in right here, with those data, I should move to a next URL, right? So to do that, again, I'll come here. First of all, I'll remove all these blank spaces. The white spaces that I have, I'm going to remove it. And I'll go here, and here in the form, I'll give an action. And let's say whenever I will hit the register button, I want to go to registration success. Okay, and let's say right now I want all these things to be available in the query parameter or in the URL parameter. So I will have a get method here. I'll say method type equal to get. Okay, so that I'll get all this value in the URL parameter, but later we are going to change it to post. So even if you're not going to write anything right here, by default it will be a get method only. Okay, so right now let me refresh this page again and let me remove this default data. I'll say user Abhilash Panigrahi. Okay, and then the username, I'll say username is Abhi123. Then the password I'll say, let's say hello Abhi, and the country, let's say India. Cricket, I love cricket, I love reading, I love traveling, I love programming also. But what the heck is this? Again cricket. So probably I have copy pasted it multiple times. Yes, I have to remove this. Let me remove this tag from here. Let me do command S here. Let me do refresh again. Okay, so right now that cricket is gone, right? So let me fill in the details. The gender is male. I'll do register. And right now, whenever I'm clicking register, I'm moving to a new URL called registration success, just as this. If you see my form action here is registration success. I'm moving to a new URL with all the details that I have filled in. So you can see the query parameter starts from here. So the way I have to recognize the query parameter, from where the question mark starts, from here only, this is called the query parameter. And you can see I have all the values right here. I'm going to copy this value. Let's analyze the value for a moment. So what I'll do here, I'll paste somewhere this thing, command V. And right now you can see the name is Abhilash Panigrahi. Okay, so I'll do one thing. Let me go back. So all the value will be there. Yes, only the password is gone, no problem. So Abhilash Panigrahi, there is a space in between, right? So the space here is basically represented by the plus. Then the username is Abhilash123, whatever I have entered. Then the password is hello Abhi. Okay, basically, as we are sending all the data in the GET request, so the password is also going with the GET request, right? But in the production, never do it. We never want to show the user, okay, what is the password? So the next is the country name. The country name is IND. So, previously I've told you, right? We are displaying India, but if you are going to see the tag for this, where is that? Okay, here, the country name, right? We're showing India, but whenever I'm selecting India, IND is what which is going to bind it with my country property right here, right? So that's why if you see the URL parameter, the country name is binded with IND. This is what I'm going to save to my database. This is what I'm trying to bind with my DTO property. The next thing is hobbies. Hobbies, you can see it's a checkboxes. So as I told you, I can select multiple hobbies here. So I have chosen all four hobbies here. 1, 2, 3, 4. All 4 hobbies here. So that's why you can see my hobbies equal to cricket. Then and underscore hobbies equal to on. What is the meaning of this? This is actually a checkbox property. So underscore hobbies equal to on, we are going to have a deep dive later. But right now you can see all my hobbies. You can see hobbies equal to reading, then hobbies equal to travel, and the hobbies equal to programming. All these properties I am getting here in my URL parameter. And also you can see gender equal to male because I have selected male here, right? So that's good. So things are working good. So my data are binding perfectly, okay? And then my data are also going to a new URL. If you see here, my data, whenever I do register, my data is going to a new URL called registration success. Let me copy this URL, okay? And let me handle that URL by a controller. Let me close it. So right now, if you see my form action registration success, right? This is the URL we're going to handle. So I'll come to my registration controller.java. This is my controller, and here right now, first I'll do a at request mapping. I'll map it to my URL class control V. And now actually I'm going to write a method public string. Right now, whatever the data the user is entering in the page, whatever the data he is entering, whenever he is doing register, I want to show him all the data. I need to tell him that, okay, your registration is successful and these are the data that you have entered, right? So for that, I'll create a new method here called process user registration. Let's say process user registration. And right here, let me return a string. And the string will be, let's say, registration. So right now, whenever this URL will be fired, I will send the user to this particular page. Okay. So what I'll do here, before sending the user to this particular page, okay, I will make sure I will capture all the data from my URL parameter, from my query parameter, right? How can I do that? So for that, I have to create the DTO object. So what is my DTO? A user registration DTO. Let me copy this. Let me do Command V and DTO. So right now, Spring will do what? Spring will capture all the data from my URL and it is going to bind all the data with my DTO property. So if I'll go to my DTO property, here only I have defined all my properties, right? So name will be binded to name, then the username will be binded to this. So all these things will be happen magically by Spring, okay? And the user registration DTO object will be also created by Spring itself, right? So I don't need to create the object here. And then I'm going to send this DTO to my registration success page, right? So in this particular object, my values are getting binded. Right now, I need to send those values. I need to send that object to this particular page so that in this page I can read whatever the user entered and I can tell them, okay, this is what you have entered and your registration is successful. So to do that, to send this DTO to this particular page, I would have created a model, but right now I will not create a model. I will create a model attribute, okay? Now I'll give a alias name. I'll give a name to this. I need to give a reference to this particular DTO. Let me tell, you can give anything right here, but I want to stay consistent in my application, so that I'll give the same name here. User registration, Command V here, user registration. Right now here in this page right now, I can access this user registration and I can say user registration dot username, user registration dot password. I can say like this and I can read the properties from my user registration object, which is basically this DTO object, which is of this type, okay? So right now, let me open this particular page. Okay, so this page I haven't created. So let me first create this particular page. So let me do Command C to copy. Let me go to my view, and in my view right now, I'll do a right click, new, and I will do JSP page. I'll create a JSP file. I'll give the file name as whatever I've copied from there. I'll do finish it. Okay, I have a very blank page right here right now. I can say the user that your registration is successful, and I'll do Command S. Now I'll say I can give another S2 tag, and I'll say here that the details entered by you are, and I can keep printing their details, okay? So let's say right now, what is the object that I'm sending from my controller? I'm sending the user registration object, okay? So this user registration actually containing all the value, whatever the user has entered, and that's been captured from the URL and been binded to this particular thing. So right now, if I'll go to, let me minimize this. Right now, if I'll go to registration success page, I'll do Command Shift R to open this page. And right here, I can say user registration. This is my object that will be available because it's a model object. And I'll write $ here. And from this object right now, I will try to access all the property. So right now, let me do a Command S. So where is my user registration DTO? Let me bring it into here. And right now, I'll say user registration dot name. Okay. Now let me say this. So this is my user. Okay, this is my user colon. Then this is the value, whatever the user have entered, that would have bind to this particular value. And I'm trying to read from this particular property right now, because this is the object with which the values are getting binded, right? So right now, let me give a BR here, Command S, and let me do Command C here. Let me do Command V, Command V, Command V, Command V. Cool. So right now, I'll do what? User, then I'll write user name. Okay, this is basically name, right? So I'll write name here, name. And for from the user registration property, I'm going to copy the username and I'm going to paste the username right here. And similarly, I'll copy the password. I'll paste the password here, and I'll copy the country name and I'll paste the country name here. And then I'll paste the hobbies and I'll paste the hobbies here. And also I need one more, Command C, and I'll do Command V here. I'll copy the gender and I will paste the gender here. So similarly, right now let me remove the break from the last statement, and here this is the name, this is the username, then the password, this is going to be my label, then the next one is the country name, and after that the hobbies, I'll say hobbies, okay, and after that the gender, so I'll say gender. So all this detail right now I'm trying to paste from my user registration object, which is coming from my controller, and from that particular object I'm trying to call each of the object properties, which are this, and basically these properties are private. So whenever I'm calling this property, internally Spring is going to call the getter method, right? Let's say I'm calling name here, so this name variable is private, but we already have a getter method for the name, right? This getter method returning name. So whatever the value has been set by Spring during the form binding, that particular value will be returned to me whenever I'm writing this particular command, okay? So that's it. This looks pretty good right now. Let me run this particular application and let me see what are the values which is getting printed to my console. So what I'm going to do here right now, I am going to basically stop my server and I'm going to redeploy my project again to Tomcat. So I'll write run as, run on server, and let me see whether I'm getting all the value, you know, after binding, I'm getting all the values in my JSP page here, the one that I've created right now. Okay, so my server started here, so let me minimize this and let me type the URL called register. So right now I got my registration page, default value I want to overwrite. Let me fill in some new value right now. Let me say Abhipsa, and let me say the username is Abhip123 or something. The password is, let's say, hello1. The country, let me choose something else. Let's say Sri Lanka. Let's say she loves cricket, she loves reading, she loves traveling, and she's a female. Abhipsa is my sister and she doesn't know programming, so I don't need to tick this box. So right now I'll do register, and boom, we get all our result right here. Okay, so name is Abhipsa, username is whatever, but the password here, why the password is coming like this? Is it encrypted? No, this is not encrypted. So you can see the symbol, this is the array symbol, right? So if you see the password here, the password we have taken the data type as character, right? So whenever you are going to print the character array reference, you are only going to get a object reference. You are not going to get the content. For an example, if you are going to print the string reference, you are going to get the content, not the reference. But for character array, you are going to get the reference, not the content. Okay, that's why you are getting the object reference here. Okay, so password is not a concern right now, so I'm not worried about this much. The next thing is country name. So country name is Sri Lanka. That's good. Whatever I have entered, I'm getting here. Then the hobbies. The hobby is here right now. Again, hobby is here. Again, printing me the reference of string array, right? So this hobbies is of string array type. So whenever I'm trying to access the hobbies object, it is actually giving me the reference instead of the content. So for an example, here, if you see the hobbies, right? If I'll go back to the previous page, you can see the hobbies are cricket, reading, and traveling. Okay, so there are multiple hobbies and that's getting stored with this array. Right now you have the array object. In that object there are three values: reading, traveling, and cricket. Now you have to iterate over that array and you have to get those values. Okay, we're going to do it. So what about the next thing? Gender is printing female. Pretty fine, because gender is the simple string, and whatever getting binded with that, we're getting it in the web page. So right now my concern is this hobbies. I want to print this hobbies. So to print this hobbies right now, we need to use a for loop, because there is an array. We need to iterate over that array and we need to get the hobbies printed. And to use the array, so I'll go to this page. Okay, I'll go to the registration success page here. So now here in the hobbies, okay, I need to use, so this is my actual object. So I need to use a for each loop to iterate over this. And how to use a for each loop inside the JSP page? Okay, we are going to use jstl for that. So I can write here C colon control space, and I'm not getting for each because this is a jstl tag. And to activate the jstl tag right now, I need two things. I need to find the tag leaf for that. I need to have the import right here. The next thing is I need the jstl jar. So I'll go to my Google Chrome right now, and I will open a incognito tab, and right here I'll say jstl core dependency, and I'll go to the first link in the MVN repository, and right now I'm gonna click here the first link 1.2. I'm going to copy this. Okay, it's already been copied. Okay, anyhow, I'll go to my pom.xml, but before that let me fix this. After I fix my pom, I'm going to do all these things. Let me do Command S for now. Now let me go to my pom.xml, and right now, okay, let me close this. I'll go to my pom.xml. I'll go to the dependency section, and I'll paste my jstl jar. I'll do a Command Shift F to format. Okay, I'll do Command S to save. You can see it's already building my workspace. So let it build my workspace. It's downloading whatever you want. Okay, that's good. So right now my jstl jar in place, but as I have updated my pom, I'm going to do a Maven update, so that I'll make sure that whatever the dependency I got, all those dependency got updated and got downloaded. You can see it's updating the Maven project here, building the workspace. Things are looking good. So now let me do a clean install just to make sure that things are looking good and no error here. So let Maven build all this thing, and let me see what's going to happen here. You can see the build is success. So right now let me use jstl because I have already activated jstl here. I'll go to the registration success page, and here actually I'll have the jstl import. So I already have a cheat sheet with me, so I'm going to paste it right here. So you can see it and type it, or you can just simply copy it from the internet. Right now this import here, right now this tag leaf here is going to activate the jstl so that I can use it inside my page, right? So basically these hobbies are returning me an array. So I'll do a enter here, and after this hobbies I'll do a enter. This is actually my array object. So this array I need to iterate. So I'll say C colon, I should be getting for each, C colon for each. Okay, this is my jstl tag, and I will do one thing right now. I will use a temporary variable here, var equal to, and let me say temp, and then items. My items are here inside this object, right? There will be multiple values which is present inside this. So I'm going to loop over it one by one and going to store the things over here, and each time the values are there, I'm going to print it right here. So I'll just directly print the temp right here. I can give $1 here, and that's it. So, and right now I can do a Command Shift F to format this thing, and I can remove the unwanted space, and I can bring in this gender to the next line. Okay, now do a Command S. So now let me run this application again. I'll do run as, run on server. I'll do next, finish, and restart the server. And let's say this time my hobbies should not be printed as an object reference. My intention here that my hobbies will be as whatever I have entered, all those elements will be present here because I'm iterating over that array and I'm fetching the elements from my array. So looks like my server is still starting, and it started. Let me write register here, and there you go. Let me fill in the details pretty quick. Avipsa 123, password hello, country let's say something else because I want to test it, and hobbies I'll choose cricket, reading, traveling, and gender is female, and I'll do register, and boom, and here we get the hobbies, right? Cricket, reading, and traveling. This time it's the plain text, not some object reference, right? So your registration is successful. The details entered by you are these things. So we are able to successfully transfer the data from the previous page. I mean from this page to the next page, which is this. Okay, that's pretty nice. So we have done a pretty awesome job. So that's it for now. So there are a few more things, but we're going to talk about it in the next video. Do practice this and make sure that you are able to build this particular form using the Spring MVC tag, using the Spring MVC data binding. Use all those concepts, do the same thing, and send it to me to seleniumexpress@gmail.com. I'll check that, and if you are able to do that by yourself, then I'll be the happiest person, right? All the best. Do this as an assignment, pretty important. Without this, you cannot go further. Okay, just complete it. It's a request. Sure. So thank you very much, guys, for watching this. So I'll see you in the next video. Till then, happy coding. Bye bye. Take care, and take care of your health. Bye bye.